From the best-selling Christian Heroes Then and Now series, YWAM Publishing presents D.L. Moody, Bringing Souls to Christ, by Janet and Geoff Benge, read for you by Tim Gregory. For information about other titles in this outstanding series, please visit our website at ywampublishing.com or call us at 800-922-2143. Chapter 1. Who Would Have Guessed? Dwight Lyman, D.L. Moody, swung open the door of Agricultural Hall in Islington, London. He stopped to stare at the cavernous place with its large gas lights hissing overhead, casting a golden hue over the empty chairs. Normally, the hall was used for horse and cattle shows, but not tonight. Where the horses and cattle usually paraded, seats had been arranged in long rows as far as the eye could see. Against the far wall stood a high platform, with a wooden rail running along the front, and steps up to it at the side. D.L. took a deep breath. In just over an hour, he would be standing on that platform preaching to thousands of people. Several months of planning had gone into this meeting and the ones that would follow. D.L. checked to make sure that everything was in order. When he was satisfied that all of the details had been attended to, he headed for a side room behind the hall to pray. An hour later, D.L. emerged, his Bible in hand. He took several deep breaths before heading for the platform, where a group of local clergymen and other dignitaries were seated. As he climbed the steps onto the platform, the hall fell completely silent. D.L. strode to the rail at the front edge of the platform and looked out on Agricultural Hall. The hall that had been empty when he entered the side room to pray was now packed to capacity. Somehow 18,000 people had squeezed themselves in. Their expectant faces were focused on D.L., who hoped his voice would carry to the far corners of the hall. In his nearly 2 years of preaching in England, D.L. had spoken to some large crowds, but this was the biggest audience he had ever faced. He surveyed the faces in the hall, reminding himself that the people were not here to see him, but to hear from God. He prayed a silent prayer for God to speak through him. As he opened his Bible to begin his sermon, D.L. chuckled to himself. Who would have thought that 18,000 people would be eagerly waiting to hear him preach the gospel? If these people could have seen him when he first applied for membership in the Mount Vernon Church in Boston, the examining deacons had rejected him because of his lack of knowledge of the Bible and the Christian faith. How things had changed. In fact, D.L. was as surprised as anyone. No one, least of all D.L., would have guessed that he would end up an evangelist. His life had certainly taken some surprising turns since his boyhood in Northfield, Massachusetts. Chapter 2. Northfield. Dwight Moody sat proudly beside his older brother Luther in the red clapboard schoolhouse in Northfield, Massachusetts. He was only 4 years old, but he had begged his mother to let him go to school for the winter months, and the teacher had allowed it. At the moment, the class was learning to recite the presidents of the United States. Dwight proudly chanted along with the other students. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler. Dwight was proud that he could remember all 10 presidents, including William Harrison, who had been sworn into office 2 months before in March 1841, and had died 1 month later. The teacher was describing the city of Washington, D.C., where the president resided, but Dwight was finding it difficult to picture the place. For
Sample complete. Ready to continue?